about 1 hour of 5-Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Good morning, Rush Nation. Welcome back to another Good Morning Fantasy Football. This one is delayed coming out. A few things have happened, which has resulted in the delay of this, but that's okay. We will still prevail. It's not going to be morning anywhere when you're watching this, but that's okay. Well, probably way out west, potentially. But I just wanted to get this out. As a few different things have happened, which has resulted in the delay of this, which I'm not going to go into detail with. Look, today's show, really straightforward as promised. I've been doing sort of breakdowns of all the different charity drafts that have occurred. This one in particular, we're going to talk about is Battle of the Sexes. This is a really unique scoring format where I think there's 300 people. It's 150 men and 100 versus 150 women. Each division has 6 women and 6 men in it, and they're all different themes. It's TV shows, I believe, this year. I'm in the Saved by the Bell division, which is clearly the best division, one of the best TV shows ever. And so it's a unique format. Before I get into that, I'm just going to go into a few of the last bit things. Scottish Bowl drafts are finishing. It's sort of a hint to a sort of a later round strategy. It's really simple. Go for kick returners. I think there's some good value steals late on. Alexander Mattison. If we're, Zamir White's never done a full season as a bell cow back. I think he's going to be at worst a 1B back. Mattison, they paid him some money. But also there is an opportunity there to potentially usurp or even get an exclusive role by himself there. So I think that's a big one. There's a couple of really good late round tight ends. Theo Johnson of the Giants is a really good grab. You can potentially want to hedge the bet and grab both. You can get them in the last 2 rounds of Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger. If you're really not sure, take both, and you're going to have a starting tight end in the last 2 picks of your Scott Fish Bowl draft. So that's another one you could look to go down. If you're MFL not sleeper, you'll want to be taking more kickers because they're definitely flex worthy in this format. To definitely get yourself extra kickers. You don't need just the 2. You can get yourself a sort of 4 kickers, I think is a pretty good number to have. But then also those kick returners that are late. Naheem Hines will go late. Kadarius Toney is someone I got very late in drafts. Those are the sorts of players that you can pick up. So they'll have a few receptions here and there, not loads, or a few rushing attempts here and there. But then the kick returners, they could really escalate up. And they're people that can then move up the roster if there's injuries at the position. Especially, we've got a whole lot of newness going on in Kansas City. There could be a route for Kadarius Toney to get a bit of work, especially with Rashee Rice if he gets suspended 4 to 6 games, which is, I guess what is the most likely outcome at this stage. Not that all outcomes are on the table. Warrior Bowl is kicking off. Warrior Bowl, again, I think the big thing I talked about there with the quarterback scoring, it's not advantageous to take 2 quarterbacks early. So if you're in a league where they're taking a lot of quarterbacks early, that's great. Pushes the value right down the board. You're in good stead. JTT Cup, I definitely think that there's a lot of people in the JTT Cup who aren't in the Scott Fish Bowl, and therefore, as a result of that, you can get these players. I double stacked Mims and Shaheed together in back-to-back rounds near the turn. I feel pretty good about that. They're a great opportunity for them to really sort of go off in your scoring. So, but I'm going to focus purely on Battle of the Sexes, and then we'll come back and do another show and do everything else. So really, in terms of the Battle of the Sexes scoring, it's pretty straightforward. It's very advantageous to quarterbacks. I'm going to actually present my projections here on this, and I'm just going to, as per, blow it up a little bit so it's easier to see. Now, I think for me, it's definitely advantageous here, as you can see with the scoring, the quarterbacks. That's because there's no negative scoring for the quarterbacks in this format, and then they get all the rushing attempts. So these rushing QBs are premium. So Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts should be your first 3 picks off the board. Christian McCaffrey, the fourth pick. That's a pretty consensus top four. You might want to flip the order here and there a little bit, but those are the four I would rank in that order, in that position. And then you can see here quarterbacks come back to take higher up the board. So pretty much the rest of the first round in this format should be exclusively quarterbacks. So that's how we're looking here. Tyreek Hill in this format is a second round pick. And then again, more quarterbacks off the board. And then Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor. And then you've got the tight ends here. And people are going to look at this and go, tight end, 2 points per reception, and also a point for tight end first downs. Tight ends don't score lots of first downs. It's a bit deceptive. So, the tight end scoring on first downs isn't hugely advantageous compared to some. So that's something to really sort of focus on. So just give you a bit of color here that it's 1 point per first down for tight ends, which on paper looks amazing, right? It looks really, really good. It's only 0.5 point per receiving. So those two premium, or sort of 4 or 5 premium tight ends at the top of the board will outscore the wide receivers when it comes to first downs, but not by much, just a handful of points, anywhere from sort of like 7 to 15 points over the course of a season. But it's the first downs. So those first down points are one thing. So there is a slight advantage there, but it's not massive. But then you've got the receiving points there that really sort of elevate those wide receivers significantly more. So even with the points per reception, those guys just aren't quite coming up to the level of the premium. I mean, they're almost there. I mean, I've got Hill as the only guy above them, CeeDee Lamb underneath them. So those two are obviously very premium in this scoring format. Evan Ingram jumps up quite a bit over St. Brown, and Chase and Mark Andrews is there too. But then it starts to taper off here a little bit. And you go to the middle of the pack. So there is a premium. It's a super premium. It does sort of move them up boards. But as you can see here, like Dalton Kincaid, I got as like the 50th player overall, just 48th overall. So there is some things here to consider. And then it really just sort of falls off a cliff. So definitely worth reaching to get those premium tight ends. But not over the course of maybe 2 quarterbacks who could give you better balance. But then if you do get one of these, you will get an advantage at the position. They're pretty close. Kelsey just pips it just on the first downs over Laporte. But it is, I mean, we're talking a point in it in my projections. You can swing that either way you wish. The running backs here, have some good value, but not tons. So we're looking at it here. Once you go past Christian McCaffrey, it's these receiving running backs. So Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, they're going to jump over the likes of Breece Hall in my projections, but not by much. And again, you can make the argument that Breece Hall will do more work, and that's fine. I have them all fairly close. So I'm not going to sit here and say you have to religiously follow this order. I've got Bijan a bit lower, and then you'll see it really starts to taper off at RB. So going RB early doesn't give you a significant advantage in this format. Really should focus on quarterbacks. If you can get a premium tight end, that's great. And then go back and finish, get some wide receivers, and then you can fade quarterbacks a fair bit, unless you're looking at a particular stack. I did go, for me, I quite like the thought of getting one of these 2 running backs because there is a bit of a premium here over the rest of the field. But I think you can split this any particular way that you like in the scoring format. So I went by my decision-making process here was to go with, I went for total points. So I went with Taylor over Kelsey, but I think the premiums kind of work the same way over what you can get. I like to focus on total points when I do this, but I've made this sheet completely available to anybody who's watching this, who's in Battle of the Sexes. So you've got a good idea of what to do. It's about 230-ish players in here, so you can have a good look through and nosy through what to do here. There is no kick returning bonuses in this one, so it's pretty easy and straightforward. It's back to your standards, the Shaheeds and folks of the world go back down the board. So quarterback heavy, followed by either the premium tight ends or the premium running backs, and then load up on wide receivers, because that's where there's plenty of density at that position to pick up and really scoop a good base for your team to attack this. But it's a really interesting format. I do love the fact it is, you've got these literally half and half, female and male. I think it's phenomenal. And the folks that put this on, Mr. Aladdin and Wendi, do a phenomenal job. And so thank you very much for letting me play in this. Hopefully this video gets a little bit of awareness out there for those who are playing this great tournament. And if you've not played in it, you've not heard of it, that's fine. Join in next year. Follow. I'm going to put the links onto the actual video. They're not here on this one on the live, but I'll put it out when I put this video out later on. So do make sure that you follow up on those and go through that. So yeah, very quarterback heavy format. So make sure you get your guys early. I think there's a third round reversal in here to weigh out, but this should give you a bit of context as to what you need to do in this format and give you some balance. It's very different to the other formats because there's not a lot of negative scoring in this format at all. It's only the kickers, I believe, that have any form of negative scoring against them. There's no points off for interceptions, and there's no points off for sacks or pick sixes or anything like that. In fact, the only negative scoring is on DSTs and kickers for field goal missed and point after. So it's not got that negative scoring. And so when you don't have negative scoring, it heavily favors the quarterbacks. And that's what we're seeing here on this sheet. So that's going to do it for this one. I'll be back with another one. And this time round, we'll be talking more sort of general fantasy football, just some latest news, information. And then also be talking a little bit more about our amazing listener leagues that will be kicking off, as well as also the FFCC announcement that dropped. So thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to catching you on the next one. And don't forget, as always, keep rushing.